What's up, y'all? It's been a little bit of time since I've been on here, man, but I'm ready to be back. I say it's been some time. It's been, one day longer. If you couldn't tell, got some sun this weekend, had some fun out there on the river. Man, I wanted to check in. Something I wanted to discuss today was 3 different things, right? You might have seen this on my Instagram or my Snapchat at some point, but 3 different things hold us back so much in this life. Most people, at least. Man, everybody falls into it at a time, right? Number 1 is fear, right? The fear of something unknown, right? We get all up in our head where we're so worried. We're so worried about whatever it is. We're so fearful of whatever it could be, right? Fear of the unknown. Fear of what's coming next. Fear of what could happen, right? It doesn't help anything. It actually just slows us down. I know it better than most. It feels like half of my life, most of my life, 3/4, 7/8 of my life was spent being fearful of what my reality could be or what some small part of my reality could be, right? And what happens is we end up avoiding so many decisions in life just because we're fearful of the pain or of whatever, or the perceived pain of a certain situation, right? Like we're worried about what everybody else is thinking of us, so we don't go play that sport, or we don't go get out in front of all those people and do something fun, right? It's like, who cares? Why be fearful? Why hold yourself back from having fun, from new experiences, from learning, from growing, just because you're like fearing something simple? Most of the time, fear is just the avoidance of change and the avoidance of the unknown. Why did you need that? Why do you need that? As humans, we are like literally made and wired to go into the unknown. Like we are the reason why humans are the top of the food chain, as great as we are, is because we can adapt. We are more adaptable. It's not because we're strongest. It's not because we're smartest. It's not because we have the most creativity. It's because we can adapt. Right? Which creativity might play into that. But my point is, you get my point. We're adaptable, right? So number 1 is that fear. Don't let that fear take you out of this life, right? Because when you're in fear, you're in scarcity. You're coming from a point of, hey, I don't know if I can even do this, right? And what does that get you? What does that get you? Nothing. Nothing whatsoever. Number 2 is worry. It is being worried about every little thing you could possibly be worried about, right? Now, fear and worry kind of go hand in hand, but there's a big difference for me in worry. Worry is just, it's like a mental drainer. Like it's just a hole in your cup that is just, if you have a habit of worrying, you're constantly worrying about what it is you do choose to do. Like maybe you do take some action. You get fear out of the way and you do take some action, but while you're in that action, you're constantly worried about a certain outcome that isn't exactly as desirable as the one you do desire, right? So you're constantly worrying. What happens is we actually pull those things that we're worried into our like paradigm, into our world. We manifest, right? Those things that we're worried about actually become possible whenever we give them that much thought. Now, don't get me wrong. You can't just go all willy-nilly and not have any planning. You have to plan. So plan properly to where you don't have much to worry about, right? And as you go through more experiences and you unlock these different levels of life and your confidence in yourself, you're not as worried, right? Because when you couple proper planning and strong self-confidence, that's the antidote to worry. Because what does worry come from? Well, worry comes from improper planning or a lack of complete self-confidence. And don't get me wrong, nobody has 100% confidence all the time and you're just constantly like as confident as possible. It's a skill. And it's a trait, but it's like there's a skill in the middle of it. Like if you're not as developed in your self-confidence because you've fallen on your face however many times, or you've fallen on your own personal responsibilities and obligations, right? That's the biggest thing about self-confidence. But if you failed on that however many times, of course you have an issue with your self-confidence, because in your mind, your self-image, it has recreated yourself from what you really are to this, what your mind pictures as not exactly a winner, or maybe even a complete loser. When in reality, you have limitless potential. And whatever you choose to have as a win is a win. And whatever you choose to have as a loss is a loss. So if you are constantly going through life worried about everything, which then creates negative scenarios that you were worried about to begin with, and you begin to have this habit cycle of worrying until something is screwed up, and then once it's screwed up, you consider it a loss. You do that over time, and you start to consider yourself a loser. And that's the farthest thing from the truth. The only people who are really losers are the ones who consider themselves losers. Right? And that's where we get into number 3. Number 3 is judgment. Number 3 is the judgment of others, which in all scenarios starts with the judgment of oneself. And typically, it starts with number 1 and number 2. When we are so fearful that we never take action, or we are so worried that our action is almost always cut in half, it's negated by the amount of we're worrying, then we do that over time. We become resentful of ourselves for constantly self-sabotaging, whether we realize it or not. And then that grows into our other relationships. It goes into other people we know. We start projecting that judgment of ourselves onto others, because we're so miserable and so unhappy with our own state of being that we can't help but project that and put that out into the world. And in the process, make the world a worse place, one person at a time. Because we get so worried, so fearful, that we can't possibly keep in our mind that we have limitless potential, and everybody else does too. You understand what I'm saying? I'm sure you have met someone before who is full of judgment. Like everything they say is like judging of someone else. And maybe sometimes it's funny, like especially how much you click in with them. They're funny about that, they're funny about this. But then after a while, unless you click in too much and it becomes part of who you are as well, after a while you start to realize, watch them judge just about everything. And you're just like, you begin to come into understanding how close-minded they are to everything. And then as you get to know them, you see how unhappy they truly are. They open up to you as your friendship develops. And you're like, dude, you realize how unhappy, how miserable, how lost they are in their general state of affairs. And you can't help but wonder why they're judging everybody else. If their inner circle isn't right, if their inside isn't right, and their outside sure as hell ain't right, how are they sitting here judging everybody else? Because we tend to go inwards whenever we don't express ourselves outwardly enough for our soul's meaning and purpose. And we don't try, right? You don't figure that out in one day, but if you don't try, you're never trying. Your soul has so much power, limitless potential inside of you, constantly flowing, constantly trying to express itself, right? And our bodies are vessels for this expression. And so if our body is improperly tuned, that energy is going to seep out of us and express into the world improperly. It's the same reason why so many great people, so many great minds become massive alcoholics or drug addicts. And they slowly but surely destroy that vessel, the mind, body, brain, everything. And that soul still, it's always there, but that vessel that allows it to express itself slowly erodes. And over time, there's only so much you can get out of it after you spend a lifelong worth of time destroying the vessel. Now, on the opposite side, you push past fear, you eradicate worry from your mind state as best as you can. You're not judgeful. You're not judging. You just do what you do. You just live your fucking life and you express yourself meaningfully. The way you should, the way you're called to do. Do you understand what I'm saying? But we live in such backwards, unnatural time where it's okay not to express your truest self. Like, it's okay to be fearful, right? If you're fearful and you're worrying, well, here's some medication. Here's some medication to numb your mind, right? Why are you fearful and worrying to begin with? Well, habit patterns, ways of thinking that are built into your brain from years of time. It's your fault. I hate to say it, but I don't, because I had to tell myself the same fucking thing over and over and over and over again. And there's still times where I have to remind myself that this anxiety, this worry, this fear is only holding me back. Right? Take control of your life, man. Stop pushing the baton. Stop giving it to someone else. Because nobody else is going to save you. Nobody. It's up to you. Yeah. I hope you enjoyed this. Please leave what you think below. Share it with somebody who needs it. Lord knows this world is full of fear and worry and judgment. Let's make the world a better place, guys. One person at a time.